There is a category of plants sitting in ordinary soil, in backyards, on quarter-acre lots, in containers, on apartment balconies, that is generating $50,000, $80,000, even $120,000 per acre for a small, quiet group of growers who figured something out that the mainstream gardening world never bothered to tell you. And what they figured out is this: the most profitable crops on earth are almost never the ones at the front of the garden center. They are not tomatoes. They are not zucchini. They are not whatever is sitting on that end cap display next to the cash register in April. They are specialty crops, medicinal plants, culinary rarities, botanical ingredients that the pharmaceutical industry, the cosmetic industry, the gourmet food industry, and the nutraceutical industry are paying premium prices for right now this season, because domestic supply cannot keep up with demand. I have been growing and consulting on specialty crop production for over 50 years. I have watched ordinary gardeners with ordinary land build extraordinary income streams from plants that most of their neighbors have never heard of. And I have watched the mainstream gardening media, sponsored by the same seed companies and fertilizer brands that need you buying inputs every season, say almost nothing about any of it. Stay until plant number 6. It is the one that will genuinely stop you in your tracks. It grows in zones 3 through 9. It fits in a raised bed, and it commands prices that will make you question every crop decision you have ever made. Drop your U.S. state or USDA hardiness zone in the comments right now, because several of these plants have zone-specific windows that I want you to know about, and I want to make sure every single person watching this leaves with something they can actually plant. Stay until the end, because the last thing I tell you is not about a plant. It is about a decision, and it is the one that separates the gardeners who read about this and the growers who act on it. Let me be direct with you about something. The gardening industry, the retail side of it, the media side of it, the sponsored content side of it, is not structured to make you financially independent. It is structured to make you a reliable consumer. Buy the seeds, buy the soil amendments, buy the pest controls, harvest your tomatoes, feel satisfied, come back next year and do it again. That is a fine hobby, but it is not a business model. What I am giving you today is a business model. These are 10 crops with documented commercial demand, verifiable pricing data, and real-world income potential for small acreage and backyard growers. I have grown most of them personally. I have consulted with growers who have built genuine businesses around several of them. The data I am quoting you comes from USDA Specialty Crop Reports, University Extension Research, and current wholesale and retail market pricing, not from a seed catalog trying to sell you a packet. The mainstream garden center stocks what sells to the most people most easily. That is not the same as what earns the most money. Today, you are getting the other list. Plant 1, Saffron, crocus sativus. If you are not growing saffron, you are sitting next to the most valuable crop by weight on the planet and watering your tomatoes instead. Saffron retails for $500 to $5, $0 per pound depending on grade and origin. Persian saffron, the gold standard, commands the top of that range at specialty grocers and online markets. American-grown saffron, marketed as domestic and traceable, commands a significant premium over imported product with serious buyers in the restaurant and artisan food industry. A single acre planted in saffron corms can yield $50,000 to $150,000 at retail prices. A single raised bed, 4 by 8 feet, can produce enough saffron to generate $200 to $500 in a single fall harvest. What makes it special is the combination of scarcity and inelasticity. Saffron must be hand-harvested. Each flower produces exactly 3 stigmas. There is no mechanized shortcut. That labor intensity is precisely why the price has stayed high for 4,000 years, and why a small, careful grower with a quarter acre can compete directly with large operations that cannot harvest more carefully than human hands already do. USDA Zone 6 through 9 for in-ground culture. Zone 3 through 5 growers can succeed with container culture, lifting corms before hard freeze. Plant corms in late summer, August through September, 3 to 4 inches deep, 6 inches apart. Flowers emerge in October. Harvest stigmas by hand in the morning, dry immediately on low heat, store in airtight glass. Pro tip: buy corms from a reputable specialty bulb supplier, not a garden center bin. Corm quality determines yield directly. Invest in grade 1 corms your first season. The yield difference over inferior stock pays for the price difference many times over. Plant 2, ginseng, Panax quinquefolius. American ginseng is the long game, the retirement account of the specialty crop world. And if you have shaded woodland, or can create it, you are sitting on one of the most lucrative per square foot investments in American agriculture. Wild simulated American ginseng roots sell for $300 to $800 per pound dried at current market prices. Premium wild harvested roots have sold at auction for over $1,000 per pound. The Chinese export market, the dominant buyer, prizes American ginseng specifically for its ginsenoside profile, which differs meaningfully from Asian ginseng and cannot be substituted. Demand from China alone has kept prices elevated for decades and shows no structural sign of declining. The catch, and there is one, is time. Ginseng takes 5 to 10 years to reach harvestable root size in wild simulated culture. But here is the reframe. You plant it once, you tend it minimally, and at year 7 you are harvesting a crop that retails for $500 per pound from land that was otherwise producing nothing. The annualized return on a woodland acre of mature ginseng is among the highest of any legal crop grown in the United States. Usta zones 3 through 7. Partial to deep shade, it requires 70 to 80% shade, ideally under a mixed hardwood canopy with north or east-facing slope. Well-drained, slightly acidic, rich forest soil. Seed or rootlet planting in fall, stratified seeds preferred. Pro tip: register with your state's ginseng program before you plant. Most states in the ginseng belt, Appalachia, the Midwest, the Mid-Atlantic, require harvest certification for legal sale. Getting registered before your first harvest protects your investment and opens the legitimate export market to you. Plant 3, wasabi Eutrema japonicum. Wasabi is the crop that makes experienced commercial growers pause. Because the demand is enormous, the domestic supply is almost non-existent. And the reason for that gap is simply that most people believe it is too difficult to grow. That belief is largely wrong, and it is costing growers a significant opportunity. Fresh wasabi rhizomes sell for $70 to $100 per pound wholesale. At retail and restaurant supply pricing, premium fresh wasabi commands $150 to $200 per pound. The green paste served at 98% of American sushi restaurants is not real wasabi, it is horseradish, mustard, and food coloring. Real wasabi is a controlled, perishable, intensely regional product that serious Japanese restaurants pay extraordinary prices to source. A quarter acre of productive wasabi can generate $50 to $100,000 annually at wholesale pricing. That is not a projection. That is current market reality for growers who have cracked the cultivation window. What wasabi wants is cool, moving, clean water, streamside conditions, consistent temperatures between 46 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and dappled shade. It does not want heat. It does not want stagnant conditions. It wants mountain stream. Growers who can replicate those conditions with shade cloth, drip irrigation using cool well water, and high organic soil mixes are producing it successfully far outside its native Japanese range. Usta zones 7 through 9 for outdoor culture. Container and greenhouse production extends this significantly into zones 4 through 10 for growers willing to manage the temperature and moisture window. Rhizome to harvest takes 18 to 24 months. Pro tip: before you plant a single rhizome, line up your buyer. Wasabi is a relationship crop. Contact Japanese restaurants in your metro area, specialty grocers, and sushi distributors before you have product. The growers who succeed at wasabi are almost always the ones who sold it before they harvested it. Plant 4, Elderberry Sambucus nigra. Elderberry is the crop that the nutraceutical industry decided it needed in approximately 2015, and domestic production has been scrambling to catch up with that decision ever since. If you are in zones 3 through 9 and you are not growing elderberry, you are watching money fall off someone else's bushes every August. Wholesale elderberry prices for fresh fruit run $25 to $60 per pound for certified organic product. Dried elderberries sell for $8 to $20 per pound wholesale, with retail pricing at $30 to $50 per pound through herbal suppliers and direct-to-consumer channels. The immune support supplement market, elderberry syrup, gummies, tinctures, lozenges, crossed $1 billion in annual U.S. sales and continues to expand. Demand for domestically grown, traceable, organic elderberries outstrips supply at virtually every scale. What makes elderberry exceptional as a specialty crop is the combination of low establishment cost, rapid production timeline, and multi-product potential. A single mature elderberry bush, at peak production in years 3 through 15, can yield 12 to 15 pounds of fresh berries per season. Plant an acre at 5-foot spacing, and you have 700 plants at full production. The math is straightforward. Usta zones 3 through 9, full sun to partial shade, tolerates wet soils better than almost any fruiting shrub in temperate horticulture. Named cultivars: Bob Gordon, Nova, Adams dramatically outperform wild-type plants in berry size and yield. Pro tip: plant at minimum 2 different cultivars for cross-pollination. Yield improvement from proper pollination can run 30 to 50% over self-pollinated plants. 2 cultivars. That is a decision that pays you every harvest for 15 years. If you have made it to plant 4, You are not a casual gardener browsing content. You are someone who is genuinely considering what your land, your containers, your growing space can actually produce in financial terms. Hit that subscribe button right now. It is free. It is always going to be free. And this channel exists for the grower who is tired of being told that gardening is a hobby and ready to find out what it looks like when it becomes something more. Plant 5. Stinging nettle, Arnica dioica. Stinging nettle is the plant that serious herbalists, textile producers, and regenerative farmers have been growing for centuries, and that the mainstream gardening media has spent the same amount of time telling you is a weed. That framing has been extraordinarily profitable for the people who are quietly growing and selling it while everyone else is pulling it out. Dried stinging nettle leaf commands $4 to $12 per pound wholesale and $15 to $30 per pound through retail herbal channels. That sounds modest until you understand the yield. A well-managed nettle bed can produce 3,000 to 5,000 pounds of dried material per acre per year, with multiple cuts per season. At mid-range wholesale pricing, that is $18,000 to $40, zero per acre annually, from a plant that requires almost no inputs once established and spreads aggressively on its own. The commercial demand spans multiple industries simultaneously. The pharmaceutical industry uses nettle root extract in prostate health formulations. The cosmetic industry uses nettle in scalp and hair care products. The specialty food market, nettle soup, nettle pasta. Nettle tea is a growing culinary segment. European textile producers are revisiting nettle fiber as a sustainable alternative to cotton. This is not a single market crop. It is a platform. USDA zones 3 through 10, full sun to partial shade, moist, rich soil. Established from root divisions or transplants for fastest canopy closure. Harvest with gloves. The sting is neutralized completely by blanching, drying, or juicing. Pro tip, the first cut of the season, young spring shoots under 6 inches, commands the highest price in the culinary and fresh herb market. Contact specialty food distributors and farm-to-table restaurants in March before your first cut is ready. Spring nettle is a seasonal delicacy. Position it as 1. Plant 6. C. buckthorn, Hippophae rhamnoides. Here is the one. The plant I have watched stop rooms full of experienced growers completely cold when I put the pricing on the board. C. buckthorn berry oil, cold pressed from the small, intensely orange berries of this thorny shrub, retails for $150 to $300 per fluid ounce in the premium cosmetic and nutraceutical market. It is one of the only plant sources of omega-7 fatty acids in concentrated form. It contains vitamins C, E, K, and A simultaneously in a single fruit. A nutritional profile that has made it a cornerstone ingredient for anti-aging, skincare formulations commanding $80 to $200 per bottle at high-end beauty retailers. The fresh berry juice retails for $30 to $60 per liter. The dried berries sell for $20 to $50 per pound. A single productive acre of sea buckthorn at peak yield, years 5 through 30, can generate $5,000 to $200,000 annually, depending on how the fruit is processed and sold. Growers who press their own oil and sell direct to consumer through an e-commerce channel are capturing the top of that range. What makes it the game changer is not just the pricing. It is the combination of the pricing with the growing profile. Sea buckthorn is one of the most cold-hardy fruiting shrubs available to temperate growers. It fixes its own nitrogen. It tolerates poor, sandy, even saline soils where most fruiting plants refuse to establish. It is drought-tolerant once established. It requires no fungicide program, minimal pest management, and produces fruit for 25 to 30 years from a single planting. You plant it once. It earns for 3 decades. USDA zones 3 through 7, and that cold hardiness window is significant. This is a crop for the northern grower, the prairie grower, the Midwest and mountain grower who has been told repeatedly that their climate limits their specialty crop options. Sea buckthorn laughs at a Zone 3 winter. It was domesticated on the Tibetan Plateau. Your Minnesota February is not a problem. Plant female and male cultivars in a ratio of approximately 6 females to 1 male for pollination. Name cultivars Ascola, Lycora, Indian Summer for females, Polmix or Romeo for males dramatically outperform wild-type plants in berry size and oil content. Space plants 6 to 8 feet apart. First commercial yield in year 3 to 4. Full production by year 6. The thorns are significant. Harvest mechanically where scale permits, or by cutting fruiting branches and stripping them over a collection surface. Wear heavy gloves. The orange stain from the berries is persistent. Pro tip. The cosmetic industry is your highest margin buyer, but it requires food-grade cold press, oil extraction equipment, and third-party testing for heavy metals and contaminants. If you are starting out, sell fresh juice and dried berries through direct channels while you scale. Build the oil extraction capacity in year 2 or 3 once your revenue justifies the equipment. Do not wait until you have the full infrastructure to start selling. Sell what you can process now. Scale the processing as the income supports it. Drop a yes in the comments if sea buckthorn was completely new to you today. I want to know how many people watching this had never heard of it before this video. 6 plants in. You now have most valuable spice on earth by weight. A woodland retirement account. A crop that Japanese restaurants are paying $150 a pound for because they cannot get enough domestic supply. An immune support berry that crossed $1 billion in annual sales. A weed that earns $40,000 an acre. And a northern hardy shrub with berry oil that retails at $200 per fluid ounce. If you are ready to stop treating your growing space as a hobby and start treating it as a production system, hit that subscribe button right now. We are building the exact framework for how small acreage growers build real income from specialty crops. And if you think the first 6 were strong, plants 7, 8, 9, and 10 are where we move into crops with waiting lists. Crops with pharmaceutical contracts. Crops that sell before they are harvested. Crops that one grower I know personally used to pay off a mortgage. Stay with me. Plant 7 Arnica, Arnica montana. Arnica is the medicinal crop that the homeopathic and topical pain relief industry cannot source enough of domestically, and that almost no American small acreage grower is producing at commercial scale. That gap is an opportunity of significant size. Dried Arnica flowers sell for $20 to $50 per pound wholesale. Arnica-infused oil retails for $30 to $80 per 4-ounce bottle at natural health retailers. The global Arnica extract market is growing at over 6% annually, driven by demand for natural topical anti-inflammatories in sports medicine, post-surgical recovery products, and mainstream pain relief formulations. Companies like Boiron, whose Arnica product line generates tens of millions in annual revenue, source Arnica in quantities that dwarf current domestic production capacity. Arnica montana is a high alpine meadow plant. It wants cool temperatures, full sun, excellent drainage, and lean, slightly acidic soil. It rewards the grower who understands what it needs and refuses to thrive for the grower who guesses. But in the right conditions, it is a long-lived perennial that blooms reliably for 8 to 12 years from a single planting. Usta zones 5 through 8, full sun, sandy, well-drained, low-fertility soil. Do not fertilize heavily. It produces more flower mass in lean conditions. Space transplants 12 inches apart. Harvest flowers at full open bloom. Dry at low heat immediately. Pro tip: approach herbal extract companies and homeopathic manufacturers directly, not retailers, not distributors. These companies often have supplier development programs specifically for domestic growers, and they pay contract pricing that is significantly more stable than spot market rates. A supply contract before you plant is worth more than any agronomic advice I can give you. Plant 8, Turkish rose, Rosa damascena, Rosa the Damascene, the damask rose, is the source of one of the most expensive plant extracts in the world. And it grows in a raised bed in a sunny backyard in zones 4 through 9 across most of the continental United States. Rosado. The steam-distilled essential oil of Rosa damascena retails for $800 to $3,000 per ounce at current market pricing. Bulgarian Rosado, the industry benchmark, sells at the top of that range. Domestically produced Rosado from American growers is a genuinely emerging market with fragrance houses, natural perfumers, and aromatherapy brands actively seeking domestic sources with full traceability and organic certification potential. Rose hydrosol, the water byproduct of steam distillation, retails for $15 to $40 per 4-ounce bottle through skincare and culinary channels. Dried rose petals for the culinary and herbal tea market sell for $12 to $30 per pound. This is a crop with 3 distinct revenue streams from a single plant, and the capital cost of a small copper alembic still. The entry-level distillation equipment runs $300 to $800 for a setup capable of processing a significant home-scale harvest. Usta zones 4 through 9, full sun, well-drained, moderately fertile soil. Named damask cultivars, Trigantipitala is the Bulgarian industry standard. Bloom once in late spring to early summer in a flush that must be harvested rapidly. Petals for distillation must be processed within hours of harvest. This is an intensive, weather-dependent harvest window. Plan accordingly. Pro tip: connect with the natural perfumery community before your first harvest. Natural perfumers who formulate botanical fragrance using only plant-derived ingredients are a rapidly growing, premium buyer segment that values domestic traceability and small batch integrity. They will pay prices that wholesale commodity buyers will not. Find them through the Natural Perfumers Guild and similar professional organizations. Plant 9, Paulownia, Paulownia tomentosa elongata. Paulownia is the crop that rewrites the conversation about what a tree can earn, and it does it, on a timeline that sounds impossible until you look at the documented growth data. Paulownia is the fastest growing hardwood tree in the world. Under good conditions, it adds 10 to 15 feet of height per year in its first 3 to 5 years. Mature Paulownia timber, the pale, lightweight, exceptionally strong hardwood, sells for $8 to $30 per board foot in the specialty lumber market. Japanese buyers, the dominant export market, pay premium prices for large diameter, clear-grained Paulownia logs, which are used in traditional cabinetry, musical instruments, and the Paulownia chess tradition that remains culturally significant in Japan. A well-managed Paulownia plantation can reach harvestable size in 8 to 12 years, compared to 25 to 40 years for oak or walnut. Per acre timber value at maturity runs $30,000 to $60,000 at domestic pricing, with export quality logs commanding significantly higher. And the biological profile of Paulownia adds another dimension. It coppices, meaning when you harvest it, the stump immediately pushes vigorous new growth, beginning the next rotation without replanting. You harvest it once, it starts again on its own. Usta zones 5 through 9 for outdoor culture. Full sun, deep, well-drained soil. It is not the tree for wet feet or heavy clay. Paulownia elongata is generally preferred over tomentosa for timber production, lower invasive potential and better form. Pro tip: investigate the carbon credit market before you plant. Paulownia's rapid growth rate translates to rapid carbon sequestration, and several voluntary carbon offset programs are actively developing protocols for fast-growing hardwood plantations. Timber value plus carbon credit value on the same acre from the same planting. That is a financial stack that almost no other crop produces. Plant 10, Goldenseal, Hydrastis canadensis, the closer, the native medicinal plant that has been harvested to near extinction in the wild, which is precisely why cultivated domestic supply commands the prices it does, and why every responsible grower who produces it is selling everything they can. Grow dried Goldenseal root sells for $30 to $80 per pound at current wholesale pricing. Retail and direct-to-consumer pricing for powdered root runs $60 to $120 per pound. The herbal supplement industry's demand for Goldenseal, used in immune support, digestive health, and antimicrobial formulations, has consistently outpaced cultivated supply for over 2 decades. The wild harvest pressure that depleted natural populations created a commercial vacuum that domestic cultivated growers are only beginning to fill. A mature Goldenseal planting, at full production in years 4 through 8, yields 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of dried root per acre. At mid-range wholesale pricing, that is $40,000 to $100,000 per acre from a crop grown in the shade on land that would otherwise be unproductive woodland floor. Usta zones 3 through 8, partial to full shade. It is a native woodland understory plant, and it performs best in the dappled light beneath a mixed hardwood canopy. Moist, rich, slightly acidic soil with excellent organic matter. Established from rhizome divisions in early spring or fall. First harvest in 4 to 5 years. Pro tip: United Plant Savers maintains a list of verified sustainable Goldenseal growers and connects cultivated suppliers directly with herbal product companies seeking ethical, traceable domestic sources. Get listed. The buyers looking for cultivated domestic Goldenseal are not browsing generic directories. They are working specific networks. Be inside those networks before your first harvest. Which of these 10 plants are you researching first? Drop it in the comments right now. And if there is a specialty crop you have been growing that I did not mention, tell me. I want to know what serious growers in this community are already producing. If you are in your 50s or 60s or beyond, you have spent enough seasons growing things that fed your family and cost you money. There is nothing wrong with that. That is what gardening has always been. But there is another version of this same skill set, the same soil knowledge, the same seasonal awareness, the same patience, that generates real, documented, verifiable income from the same piece of ground. You have earned the right to find out what that looks like for your situation. That is not greed. That is wisdom applied to the thing you already love doing. Saffron that earns $500 per pound from a raised bed. Ginseng that matures into a woodland retirement account. Wasabi that Japanese restaurants are paying $150 a pound for and cannot find domestically. Elderberry that crossed $1 billion in industry demand. Stinging nettle that earns $40,000 an acre from a plant most people consider a weed. See buckthorn, the cold hardy northern miracle with berry oil that retails at $200 per fluid ounce. Arnica that pharmaceutical companies cannot source enough of. Damask rose with 3 revenue streams from a single plant. Paulownia that coppices itself after harvest and starts again, and Goldenseal, the native woodland medicinal that earns $100, thousand an acre in the shade where nothing else grows. These are not projections. These are current market prices for crops with documented commercial demand and insufficient domestic supply. The gap between what buyers need and what growers produce, that gap is your opportunity. This channel is free. It is here every single week. It is built for the grower who is done treating their land as an expense and ready to start treating it as a production asset. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell. Drop your zone and your most interesting specialty crop in the comments. I want to know